G'day and welcome back, and if you're new, hello, my name is Bonnie and today we're going to have some fun in the garden because all these plants that you see around me have to be planted today. I've been working hard the last few days to create a brand new garden bed here on the property and it is ready for planting, so I will show you that. And if you're new to gardening and you've actually been thinking about starting a new garden bed but you don't know how to get started, well, I'll share a few of my tips with you as well, but let's get stuck into it. Over the years, as I've created some gardens, one thing I've learnt to do is to place everything out where I can see it, where it's organized. That way I don't get overwhelmed with all of my plant selection. And in this space I've probably got about 300 to 400 plants sitting here, so if I color block them, put them in their groups by their species or varieties, that way I know I've got 2 of that or I've got 5 of that, and then they can effectively place them in the garden and create a really beautiful design. So here we have the garden space that I'll be planting into today. And if you're wondering how to get your garden bed ready, if you're looking at doing the same thing at home, well, the first thing I did was to kill off the grass. So I used an organic herbicide, which is a vinegar-based spray. If you don't want to use spray, that's completely fine. You can also use cardboard. And what you do, you lay your cardboard down, you put probably about 1 to 2 inches of mulch on top of that. And the best time to do that is in autumn going into winter, because when there's a lot more rain, that cardboard and mulch will decompose a little bit quicker and it will smother out that grass, causing it to pretty much rot and break down into the soil, creating a nice humus-rich soil. So you can definitely do it that way. It will take a lot longer. For me, I just didn't have the time on my hands to do it that way, mainly because I've got so many plants in pots that need to be planted and I just want a new garden. So once I had killed off the lawn, I gave it a few days for it to really just make sure that I got most of it. Came through with a cultivator and cultivated the ground, went through with a hand weeder, hand weeded it all. It probably took me about 10 to 15 hours to get all the grass out. And then I added 120 litres of organic compost. And the reason compost is so important is because it re-enriches your soil, puts little microbes, puts organic matter back into that soil that it might be lacking. I'm really lucky I've got a clay-based soil where I live, and it's really good for growing a lot of different plants because it's mineral and nutrient rich. But here, you might be able to see with me kicking around on it, it's quite dusty. It's quite a loam soil, which isn't a bad thing, but it definitely needed conditioning, so I've done that. If you have sandy soil, definitely add compost. It will help. And even wetting agents are really good as well if it struggles to hold moisture. You can find that at any nursery. So once you've done that, look to sort of what sunlight you're getting. As you can see, I've got dappled shade and a bit of sun. As we get into the later afternoon, this will be full sun. So a lot of the plants I've chosen can take both. And this is when it's at that point where it's ready for planting. So I'm going to start laying all the plants out. I'm thinking maybe purples and reds this sides, and then it gradually changes into pinks and oranges maybe. So let's get placing. So the first plant that I've decided to put in the center of both of the trees here is Helianthus, and it's a part of the sunflower family, so you still get these beautiful cheerful blooms through the summer and autumn. But what makes this a real standout plant is that it is a perennial and evergreen. So unlike a sunflower where it grows in one season, then it dies and you got to re-sow it, this sticks around all year round for many years. So it's going to be my feature in these garden beds, hence why I've put one just behind me as well. And it's the center plant because it's the tallest plant that's going to be growing in this garden. gets to 1.2 to 1.5 meters tall, so it's quite tall. And the way I like to do my gardens is I like to work in a triangle fashion. So if you think of a triangle, your peak, this is my peak of my triangle, and all the other plants I build off it are going to slowly taper down to the edges, and that way I can, one, fit more plants in, two, it creates a bit more diverse, I guess you could say a bit more of a story to the garden by creating a bit of interest. You don't know what's around that one, so you walk around and you find something. And three, I just think it's in keeping with a cottage garden. So we've got our centre, time to build. I think that will just about do it. This garden is chock-a-block. It's looking pretty good. I actually asked you guys on Instagram whether I should do this as a mixed color bed or if I should color block, and I think about 80–90% of you said mixed, so that's what I've done. So in here in particular, I've got pink, I've got purple, yellow, more purple, orange, some red down here. I love using heucheras actually in my garden designs, because when these beautiful flowers, might go out of flower for the season, at least the red of this foliage still adds color to the garden. And then I actually opted to put this one in, which is a miscanthus, and it's a Japanese grass, and it's pronounced Yakushima, and it's a dwarf grass, and it only grows to about 60 centimeters. And I thought it would be beautiful for this spot here because it's quite barren, and I thought it would grow quite well. And I actually love how fine the foliage is and the flower. Love myself a good grass flower. But I think I'm pretty happy with how it's looking. I've got a few plants left over, but that's okay. I've got another garden bed that I am planning to landscape. But for now, I think I might start digging and getting some of these in the ground. So once you've finished putting all your plants down on the ground, don't be afraid to take a step back and just absorb your creation for a few minutes. So 1 to 2 minutes, just take a look at everything and just make sure that you're happy with the spacing of the plants, the way that the colors flow, the way the textures flow. And once you think, yep, I'm really enjoying this, grab your shovel, start digging and start planting, because there's nothing worse than just going full swing and planting everything in, and then 3–4 months later you think, I wish I didn't plant that there. So that's just something that I like to do whenever I'm creating a new garden. Well, that is everything planted in the garden. I think there's probably about 200 plants in this garden, so it's going to be very full and very beautiful in a few months' time. But all that's left to do is to add some fertilizer and a layer of mulch, and I'm going to be using sugarcane mulch mainly because it does break down fairly quickly, so it'll add nutrients and organic matter back into the soil to help condition it over time, because as I was digging these holes there was quite a heavy clay base, so anything will help. But I'm really happy with how it's turned out, and I've quite enjoyed the mixed colours. Usually I'm one to do colour blocking, and this is my first time doing quite a mixed colour scheme in my garden, and I think it's turned out beautifully. And what I'm really enjoying is the red heucheras, and I feel like they draw your eye down through the garden to see all the different things. And one other flower that I'm absolutely loving in here is the Rudbeckia. It is such a cheerful bloom and it looks beautiful, and I just love yellow in the garden. But yeah, I'm really pleased with it. So over the next few months, I'll keep fertilizing it, I'll keep hand watering it just to make sure everything is growing nicely. And then I will share the progress with you in the next few months. But until next time, happy gardening.